So
Yeah.
I'm Caroline from myVolts. I never point at the sign correctly. It's like I always think it's going to be here, but it's actually here. And I'm here with Hadj from Playfader. Andrew. I've
Hey,
never called you Andrew in my life. You're Hadj, right?
Hadj is fine. Yeah, Hadj is fine. Yeah, Hadj is good.
And Hadj is your musical handle as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's kind of first half of my surname and like first day in an English school, teacher couldn't pronounce it and just got halfway through and stopped there and that was it. And it
That's
just stuck.
plenty.
Yeah, so it's been fine.
Great.
Good everything.
Cool. Well, we're here doing Shameless Plug. So I want to talk to Hadj all about his Playfader CV Performance Looper is what it's called on the website. But of course, it's so much more than that, isn't it? Look, I have actually have a picture of it here. There. So there's the picture of it. A few minutes. But
Cool.
I know Hadj through Gaz Williams, of course, is a mutual friend of ours. I think he introduced us, but I also know Jason Hotchkiss, and I believe he also what's Jason Hotchkiss's role in Playfader actually?
So, I mean, I guess the simple explanation is I had an idea for a product and I had met Jason buying actually a CVO CD off him in Brighton, like just went round to the house because I realized, oh, wow, he's there. So I'll go and pick it up. And we got talking over the next year or two and I had an idea. And Jason was like, hey, cool, like let's build this. And so Jason is the programming and electrical engineering side of Playfader. And then I'm the kind of physical external part and the company, that side of it.
Yeah,
So yeah, Jason essentially, everything under the hood is Jason's, and everything above the hood is kind of mine. And
I like that
yeah,
you met
yeah,
buying because that
fun.
happens so much in the synth world as well, doesn't it? You want to
Yeah,
buy some Korg yoke that you find, and it's adverts.ie in Ireland. I don't know what. There's all different
yeah,
people use whatever Dundee and
uh,
so forth to buy things.
yeah, yeah, like Gumtree and that
Yeah,
stuff. Hmm.
and everyone just uses everything, and then makes it there, and they're like, "Oh, you already live up the road, and you like the same things I do," and then you make pals that way. So I know lots of
Yeah, you kind
people.
of run to that person, you're like, oh, cool, like someone into synthesizers and stuff.
Yeah,
Right, cool. I'm gonna go and meet them. And
yeah,
it's really nice to meet synth people in real life. Like you
yeah.
meet a lot on forums and stuff a lot. And so yeah, and it was yeah definitely probably. I think it's probably one of the most fortuitous meetings of my life.
That's deadly. So you had thought about making something. You've been thinking about that for a while, but
Yeah.
it was finding somebody technical as well who could help realize that, right?
Yeah, yeah. So my background, I mean, I used to be a musician and a studio owner. I had a studio, recording studio, and did like kind of engineering work and that kind of stuff. And then I was a DJ for a long time during that time as well, for about 12 years. And but never and played guitar in my teens, but never very disciplined at it and useless at keyboards, but a massive fan of synthesizers and things that make interesting noises. And yeah, I kind of got into modular over 10 years ago, really drawn to it a lot by like obviously the synthesizers, but like the really innovative kind of sequences that didn't require you to play a keyboard, but were more kind of gestural, things like that, like Renee, for example. Like a really big favorite sequence for me early on. And but like being a DJ, I also really love playing mixers. I never used a crossfader. I was always playing upright faders. So, dropping tracks in faders is a real, I've really enjoyed doing that as a DJ, and I was just like, and I remember also DJ mixers used to have some in the old days used to get transform buttons on the side of the
Yeah, yeah.
crossfader, and the idea with that was basically you could punch in the opposite track, like just like a that kind of
Just bring it in
yeah, this
momentarily. Yeah,
momentarily, right? And so I had this idea of like getting the fader and this kind of momentary button action, these two gestures, and how could you make that into essentially like something musical? Like, so moving the fader is like moving left to right of the piano, and hitting the button is pressing the key. So you don't have to remember where the key is, right? You don't have to do your hands like that. You can
yeah.
just use the fader. So yeah, that was kind of the initial idea, and it was a Eurorack module initially, and it was like going to be like 8 HP wide and one fader and a couple of buttons. But as we kind of got into designing it and thinking about it, we wanted to do two faders, two channels, and then also like we just didn't want to. One of the main points of using the faders is it's like you modular is amazing, but once you've built a patch, it's a nightmare to get in and use it, right?
Yeah.
So um, we were thinking about like kind of where the connections would be and how do you get access to it. It needs to be something that you've always got access to. That was the idea. So then we
It had
sort
to
of
be
broke it.
liberated, you know?
Yeah, so then we took it out of the rack and we are like, because I didn't want to use 20 mil faders, I wanted to use 60 mils with a 45 mil throat as a minimum because that gives you a much nicer feel. It's much nicer to play, less like that and a bit more like that. And so
You can do
yeah, then we
that cool flicky thing that people do. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
there's and the longer the travel, the more you can do in between. So so yeah, so we broke it out to get longer faders and bigger buttons and sort of get out of the tangle of cables. And so it's designed to sit in front of any synthesizer, modular, and it's got MIDI as well. So you do the same, everything you can do through CV, you can do through MIDI, laptop, or whatever else. So yeah, and that's we broke it out, and then we went down the torturous task of building a standalone product,
Yeah.
which I, very soon out of a very strong, quick, big realization that I wish I'd made a module because it would have been so much easier to just stick a
Because the
panel on
module's
the front.
standardized, right?
It's just, yeah, you build your PCB and then you just stick a panel on the front. You're not worried about the sides, you're not worried about the back sockets, and then once you start build, it's 3D, right? It's like you need to think about every angle of the
Yeah.
product and every facet and how it feels in the hand and where it fits and all of this stuff. And then you need to go and we looked initially at kind of like off the shelf enclosures and stuff, but nothing really kind of worked. And I did want something that was kind of sustainable, and not aluminium. That was another reason for not doing Euro. And I wanted to use recycled materials, recycled plastic, and so yeah, I went down that path and then get into the world of injection molding and all of that stuff, which was really fascinating and great to learn about. A complete headache to navigate, but I had some great support from some people who were really good at that stuff, and um, and yeah, and then we ended up with a physical
This.
like yeah,
You've got one now. You've got one that's on an overhead
physical.
camera that we can look at. Now
Yeah,
you sent me one, and it's like the most fun ever to hold and play. It's so
yeah.
nice. It's it has a lot of features. It's very fully featured, I'm gonna say. But like everyone's favorite thing in it is it has a button that just says fun. It's like
Yeah,
who
yeah,
doesn't
right,
want a button that just says fun? Like that's
right.
magical, you know.
Thank you.
It sparks the imagination.
Thanks a lot. Like the first thing you said was like you like the way you're holding it, right? Thought a lot about how it feels in your hand and the case, and wanted to make something that was friendly and approachable overall, and that had to start with how it feels, and then the buttons, like using the type of buttons we used, and then
Oh, the
yeah, like
font.
everyone writes functions above a button. Like functions should lead to fun, right? They do generally, right? They introduce more features, more elements that you can take advantage of in whatever you're
More
using,
possibilities.
more possibilities, right? And that definitely should lead to fun, right? So yeah, we like, yeah, we're gonna have a fun button, and yeah, we're really happy about it. It's one of those things that it started off again, it was gonna do different things, and then we were like, well, what if we had like fun effects, and what if we just start kind of adding loads of fun effects over time, things that you can do to have more fun uh, with your patterns in a really kind of quick, intuitive, kind of vulnerable way, right? And yeah, and it kind of we called it fun before we even thought of it having fun effects. It was
Yeah.
kind of,
Well,
and yeah,
that's kismet. That just worked out beautifully.
it does.
S-
I'm going to pause there just a sec, just to call out because like, I went with an idea to Jason, and it was a certain idea, but Jason Hotchkiss is like an absolute genius. I've got to say, like not just in the ideas he came up with, but how he implemented the UI, the way you use it. We've got two rows of buttons, and we're really conscious about button combinations and how can we make it kind of intuitive. Like once you spend a bit of time, it's not confusing or as least confusing possible. And yeah, it's just come up with this like amazing genius. Like as one example of which is like your top row is functions, settings, and things, and your bottom row is really where you kind of action and activate things. So you kind of have these same zone at the top where you can kind of make things, set things up, and then you can punch them in like with that transform button with the play button when you want, right? And so it gives a really like kind of safe environment to perform in if you're going to do it live or if you're just jamming and and playing at home. But it just means that you, yeah, you can kind of you can navigate it really intuitively.
Reason I wanted to talk to you today, which was we have a new cable out that plays very nicely with Playfader because it's a CV, so
Yeah,
it's this.
yeah, it's like amazing.
It's the CV, so it's floating ring, TRS to TS. So it's like
Yeah,
mono, on one end, 3.5 mil, and the other end is 6.5 mil, stereo. So you can use it for CV controlling with CV, and
especially.
we developed it as well, like kind of with Chase Bliss in mind, but obviously works in lots of situations. And you have a very nice application of it set up. That's why I want to talk to you as well. Not just because you're my pal, but because I know you have a very striking demonstration of just how cool Playfader is and how it plays nice with other things. And this is the cable for the job as well.
Yeah, I mean, controlling expression inputs by CV was also like something I really loved doing it, and it was really important for me that we set the play fader up to be able to do that out the box. So, like, you can select 3 volts or 5 volts for smooth voltage because some old pedals use 3 volts
Yeah.
and only five others use five. Um, and so yeah, it's the only place you see 3 volts. And then in the box, we give a free floating ring cable so that no one destroys anything
Because
that's on the thing.
polarity matters in this
It's the
situation as
ring,
well.
yeah.
Yeah.
The ring needs to be floating. The ring on
Yeah.
that on the core inch TRS, and
There's a polarity. I don't Not that I know everything about it, but there's a polarity concern as well. Which also I just like to point out that our cable, has a light on it that actually indicates polarity. So there's feedback. There's some more reassurance. I think
it's like
people like reassurance when you're talking about things that are incredibly expensive. What can be
you
nicer
know,
than a little bit of reassurance, right?
it's really it is I would say it's like um, I've had it for a couple of days. It's a bit like a Rolls-Royce of cables. It's amazing. Um,
Gotta
it
write that
feels
down.
beautiful. The light is extremely helpful. Um, and it's just yeah, it's made for purpose. The only other floating ring cables you get are just very generic kind of standard cables, and it's just a joy to have something that feels great to use, looks amazing, but also has that visual feedback.
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to figure out how we can get it in the box for Playfader in our future batches, and I don't know, not promising anything, but like for me, I would love to have something like this in the box because it
Well, I think we'd love to make that
how
happen. I
easy.
know you were talking to Luke about it as well. I think we'd all love that to happen because it does. There's an addition there. I can
Yeah,
see that there is an addition. Now you can demo the ACV
yeah,
46 first. I'm just checking its ACV. It is ACV 46. Right now it's only in grey, which goes very nicely with the new minimal
yes, indeed.
play fader.
Really nice the colorway. Yeah, when you said it was great, I was like,
It just
yeah,
happens. It just happened that way. But they'll probably we may have other colors. We'll see. We'll see what's going on. So you have set up a table for with some demonstration. So will we have a go and see if we can get
yeah.
something going there?
Yeah. So just to get the modular side, as you can see, it's like a really simple setup on the modular. I'm just playing a single voice on Atlantics, and it's going into C legs and out. But then it's going out of the modular into the Chase Bliss reverb. This lovely reverb which has deliciously motorized faders that when you switch a preset, they do nice things
Ooh,
like move a little bit like that, which is all really cool. But it's also a really handy tool because what I've got here is the cable in question um, going into the expression input of the CXM, Chase Bliss reverb. And so that's the right-hand channel of Playfader is controlling this, and then the left channel, channel A, is controlling Atlantics. And
Cool.
channel A is set to chromatic or user scale, so it's actually quantized CV. And then on channel B, I've set it by pressing scale. You can select the voltage range. Once you come out of user, you go 2, 3, 5, and 8, and you can set the voltage range on the fader travel. So V's like 5 volts, so set this to 5. And if hold on 1 sec, I'm just if I latch this on, so I've just latched. No, so by default, if I move a fader or play fader, it's not going to move that, and that's because that whole thing I was talking about with the transform buttons on old DJ mixes momentarily actioning things. So if I press the button, then they move. Can move that, and I can move that. So I can do spontaneous changes
Oh,
momentarily. That, but if I latch, then it allows me to just not. I don't have to press play to output the CV or the expression level. I can just move the fader
yeah,
and see
nice.
that these are. It's a really simple setup. Basically, the bass, mid, and treble, the whole reverb level is just coming up as I come up, and you can see pretty responsive these faders. They're really cool.
Fabulous. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a Roland
The
area
Roland,
TA.
yeah, the Roland, yeah, the little like mini 808,
Yeah.
and that's clocking play fader, and I'm not clocking anything on here, but one of the nice things of play faders, the clock in and out is MIDI or CV, both independent, so I can have a MIDI clock coming in and send a CV clock out to a delay or whatever else I wanted, but I'm just not using it for now. But yeah, so if I let me see if I can get some. So yeah, we've got a nice pattern and you've got some nice kind of sweeps going on here. Let's turn the pedal on. So now let's show you what the fun effects can do to this modulation pattern that we've recorded, right? So if I double tap and hold fun, I'll go into random and hold fun and double tap latch, and I'm locked in the random mode now. So just to show you that this is random, I'll show you on the pitch. Okay.
That's random.
Now you can see random happening on here. We can increase the depth of it and the speed. Right, let go, and now we're back to our normal thing. And I can do things like the LFO. Let's have this is an LFO. So see,
Yeah.
getting an LFO action, but the LFO is happening around where we were in the pattern. Slower, really fast. Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay. And that gives you like just a really quick idea of the kind of things that you can do with this cable and CV, but also Playfader then allowing you to kind of manipulate and play with the CV that you put in.
So thank you for that demo. That was, you see, it only scratches the surface really because Playfader is capable of so much and there's so
Yeah,
much breadth to it.
totally. You can have multiple patterns. Yeah, so you can have 2 patterns per channel. So you can jump between 2 different expression patterns if you want. You can obviously play your expression live, um, and just keep adding into the buffer as much as you want. And then yeah, the fun effects really you get into some really interesting places with that. Depending, of course, on what you're controlling, right? Through the expression pedal, through the expression input of what pedal you're using. It really is a lot of fun with delays. I would really encourage, and if you've never done CV to expression, try and find a delay pedal like the Chase Bliss well, I mean, it's only a limited batch, so you can't get it anymore. But
So
if you
try and
find
buy a really expensive pedal that you can't buy anymore. Is that what you're saying? Ash?
worth it. I'm sorry. No, I was going to suggest this. Actually, what's really great about it is it's digital delay, and I think it's really interesting the kind of sounds you can get playing with digital delays and expression inputs, and then recording stuff even at different tempos, so you can use really fast expression or record it slow, but then speed it up really fast,
Yes.
and you're pointing at things like delay time. You can get some really interesting kind of sound effect stuff as well. And yeah, just yeah, a lot of fun to be had with expression inputs, I think.
So,
Yeah,
how much is Playfader again?
it's €299, and
Yeah, and you can
you can
buy it
buy it
on your
direct from
website.
us. Yeah, absolutely, and we're with a few retailers now as well. Perfect Circuit in the US, Signal Sounds, Elevator Sounds, Turn and yeah, and somewhere in Japan as well.
You
Yeah,
made something that you wanted to play with. You know,
it's
you
time.
made it for you, right?
Yeah, and hopefully for other people that um, this sits really well alongside the big sequences. Sorry, that's what I was kind of going to there. Kind of,
Mm.
it could be really nicely along the big ones. It can just be your only little one, and you just have little setups. Um, you can just use it to approach stuff, or you can do a set on it. It's got patch slots, so you can go from song to song and that kind of stuff. And yeah, and one of the uses I think, like I did used to be a DJ, and I think one of the things that I'm going to be exploring a lot more in the next few weeks, and hopefully you'll see some content coming out about this, is it's really fun playing along to a set or decks, like if you're DJing and having the sync out into Playfader and a Playfader playing a synth along because you've got a mixer with faders and then you're jumping onto Playfader and making stuff with faders, and just like
Oh,
the
that
int
works.
like yeah, it just really melts together, and that's definitely been my most fun like stuff with Playfader, the most fun I've had with it. Um, so yeah, yeah, it is about having fun and unashamedly so. It's about like having fun and playing, but also just coming up with ideas as well.
Brilliant. And
Yeah,
inspiring to maybe even do different stuff with your existing gear. You know,
yeah,
approach it in ways that maybe you hadn't thought of approaching it before.
yeah.
Um, and like we feel like that at myVolts with our products. Like we sell cables, power solutions. It's like solving problems so to make gear more usable. It's instead of
Yeah.
looking at a wall of like, oh, these things are annoying. I have this problem when I try this. It's like, no, power things mobile, have cables like this that solve a problem. It's all about problem solving to make the gear more useful, to make people more creative, you know, or closer
And
to
like
bring them closer to their creativity.
And I think I have said this to you before, and like I don't know if it might be overbaking it a bit, but I think the battery solutions are profound in giving you more access to the things you want to play with more readily in different locations, more
Mm-hmm.
immediate. I haven't used the wall socket for a few months now, because it's just being portable, and then the things like the step ups that you do, being able to kind of power my Eurorack case from a
Yeah.
battery along with Playfader using step ups and rip chords, and then you've got the Halo chords so you can figure out what you're doing. But like they've I think there were things that were very functional before that you've actually done something that make it much more liberating and actually creative and inspiring now. It actually creates inspiration. Like you want to get out and take your battery and plug something in. And I can sit on I basically use my modular on my sofa these days with a battery pack.
That I hear that a
I have
lot,
no
and that's
shame
what
in
a lot of
saying that.
people do. Yeah.
Yeah, no shame in saying that. I'm like, it's way more comfortable than sitting in a studio desk or a music desk. Sorry, it
Oh,
really is.
I use all my bits in my kitchen. I don't even have a sofa, so I use my bits in my kitchen, and I don't like just being able to power stuff from a battery. It does make all the difference. Again, it just makes stuff more usable. You know, it brings you closer to the music and to the creativity, and then the freedom that creativity can create in you, you know?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it is profound. I mean, a battery pack is a battery pack, right? But it's not. It's like not when you can have use it with the step up, which then allow you to kind of go out. I do, to travel without 4 or 5 different wall sockets.
It's the
Bloody
traveling,
hell.
yeah. And we'll
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
this like at Machina at the weekend.
yeah.
We'll have an easier time of our table because we're using step ups, power
Yeah.
banks. It'll make our lives
And I,
easier.
and I don't mean like, it's not like I'm not a jet set lifestyle person or anything. Like it could be going around to your friend's house even like,
Yeah,
you could just get the step up and the battery and go and you don't need to think about whether you've got all the right power adapters and take 7 wall warts with you.
yeah. I do it all the
Um,
time. Throwing stuff in a backpack, you know.
yeah, and that's why I am super excited about the Silent Alchemist as well. That is for me just something like, yeah, that definitely super need that. When's that ready, by the way? When's it happening?
So that is coming out. So we decided to add another feature to it that wasn't part of the original Kickstarter campaign, which is it's got like fall over, so it become a kind of an uninterruptible power supply. You can power it by power bank or by the wall, and if one of the sources fails, the other picks it up without any kind of reboot or anything at all. So there's
That's amazing.
proper
Yeah,
power
yeah,
redundancy there, you know.
yeah.
And because people were requesting that feature, now it's delaying it by a couple of months, but we hope to have it in people's hands before the end of December. So,
That's
yeah.
on my hands, please.
Sorry.
In my hands, please. Yeah.
Oh yeah, in your hands, definitely. Oh god, well you
Can't
get
wait.
one. You gave me a
Uh,
Playfader, so you get one. But
yeah.
I'll be showing at Machina, but it'll be the prototype model that doesn't have that feature. But it'll still give people a good sense of what is the Silent Alchemist going to be capable of. But the finished product is going to be even cooler. So we'll be showing step ups, everything. Yeah, the whole range of myVolts products will be there for people to see, and anyone can get in touch and ask me about really anything. And we get our inspiration for solving our problems from, or solving musicians' problems from our customers. People go, why don't you have a thing that does the thing? And we go, oh, and then we go off and make the thing that does the thing, and everyone goes, hooray. So, but sometimes you make it for a very niche audience, but that's part of it as well. We have hundreds of cables, and
So
if you
many
take
different
all the
cables.
colors, I don't
Yeah.
know how many, like a couple of hundred, 250 or something. I'd have to ask Luke. The fact that I don't know is terrible. I should know exactly how many we have immediately.
Quite a big
But
product range. I think Luke will forgive you. It's all right.
yeah, I think you would. So I think that's sort of us now, is it? That was a good session we
Yeah.
had. So
Yeah.
thank you very much for that. I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. I
In,
hope.
yeah, like
Yeah, well,
within a few days in
a few
Bristol,
days.
Oh,
Brilliant.
yeah. Looking forward to seeing you there, Caroline.